the fact that Prop 22 could be overturned here in California has a massive impact for all drivers, not just Californian drivers. I got this email from Uber talking about how Prop 22 is now being challenged in the California court system, and just explaining how, when the ruling is issued, we will let you know the results. Obviously, this changes nothing for drivers, at least at the exact time of this video. But going down here, it says, if you're not familiar with Prop 22, it's a ballot measure that 59% of California voters resoundingly passed in 2020. It, quote unquote, protects the rights of drivers. That's absolute BS. I will talk about that a little bit later in this video. And it couriers like you to be independent contractors. Again, BS, hate to say that. It also requires rideshare and delivery companies to provide benefits and protections, including a minimum earnings guarantee. Again, this is a bit BS. Obviously, this is from Uber. Remember that, in case you don't know, when Prop 22 was kind of thrown out there, the idea was, do rideshare drivers, do they stay as independent contractors or become employees? So to go here now to this article, which I have pulled up, which is more objective, right, compared to what Uber's going to say. Here we go. At stake is the business model of Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, and other app-based companies, which spent more than $200 million pushing Prop 22 as a way to protect people who chose to work as independent contractors. The measure was approved by nearly 60% of voters in November of 2020. This is the main thing. Prop 22 preserved the flexible schedules, and I do have mixed feelings about this. They preserved the flexible schedules associated with remaining an independent contractor, but took away protections granted by the 2019 law. This is the big precipitant and what caused this, which was AB 5, requiring gig workers across many industries, not just ride sharing, to be classified as employees with stronger benefits, such as minimum wage, overtime, and workers' compensation in case of injury. So in case you didn't know, after Prop 22, rideshare drivers stayed as independent contractors here in California. However, they did get more benefits. I talked about this in that video of should you drive for Uber and Lyft in 2023. The fact that independent contractors versus employees is a big deal, and especially here in California. After that, even though you're still an independent contractor, the good thing is you do get a minimum hourly guarantee. So if you go out and drive, and I've done this, I remember I did Uber Eats I did one trip for Uber Eats to test it out. I think it was like $8 or something in 1 hour, and I didn't do any of the rides in that hour, and they bumped me up to like a certain amount. I can't remember how much it was. So the good thing is, even if you don't make enough, like say you do one ride with Lyft or one ride with Uber, Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever, and you don't make that much money, you do get a minimum hourly guarantee. There were a lot of benefits that happened for drivers for Prop 22. Here's the problem though, and I think this is where it gets very, very tough. A lot of drivers want to stay as independent contractors. A lot of drivers, though, on the other end, want to become employees. And I know you may be watching this video saying, well, Mark, I'm not in California. This doesn't affect me, but it does. California is by far the biggest state, period, when it comes to ride sharing, right? As we all know, the number one place, period, is San Francisco for Uber and Lyft. It's like the holy grail city. It is the hub. It is the birth of ride sharing in San Francisco. And then also when you include a place like LA and Southern California as well, ride sharing is the biggest in California. And that's why I mentioned in a lot of other videos, every city and state is different, especially when it comes to this situation of, are you an independent contractor or employee? Especially when you look at a lot of TNC laws changing. This is a very rapid ongoing thing. But I think because California is the biggest place by far, you're looking at the fact that what happens in California could easily have a rippling effect everywhere else. And let me know what you think as drivers. Do you want to be an independent contractor or an employee? Now, of course, this is a whole other subject for a whole other video, but overall, the biggest thing is, one, I'll say when it comes to taxes, as an independent contractor, what you actually do is you make the money and then you owe taxes during tax season. When you're an employee, as it is for most people, it's the other way around. So you get taxes taken out and then you get like a big refund pretty much around tax season. The second thing around independent contractor versus employee, and this is the bigger one that really now then goes into Prop 22 in terms of everything that's going on, is the fact that with Prop 22 and being an independent contractor now, and this is what a lot of people are worried about, is if you are an independent contractor, you pretty much don't get any protection. If, let's say, Uber and Lyft deactivates you, it's really tough for you to kind of get a good like legal recourse. When you're an employee, you do get a lot more protection. And don't get me wrong, after Prop 22, drivers got a lot more benefits. Like I said, they did. So it's definitely better than it was before, but far from perfect. And this is why there's a lot of appeals now. You know, they were doing a lot of appeals as we speak when it comes to Prop 22. This is why that kind of Pandora's box is being reopened. Is just saying like, yeah, rideshare drivers are staying as independent contractors. So that's going to be separate from AB5 when it comes to gig workers and independent contractors becoming employees. So they're going to stay as independent contractors, but they still don't get that much protection. Yeah, it's a little bit better, but it's not that much protection. And I've heard a lot of drivers say, look, yeah, I know we're independent contractors still, but I'm not liking this. You know, I have no control over everything. I'm just an independent contractor. And for Uber and Lyft, that's kind of what they want, because for Uber and Lyft's perspective, they don't have enough control, and they don't have to, have enough control over rideshare drivers. That is a big issue. The biggest thing among all of this, I think that, especially for Uber and Lyft, and I think this is what gets tricky, I'm going to be honest, is the flexible schedule. Now, Uber's and Lyft's standpoint is if you are an employee, you don't have a flexible schedule. Meaning, as we all know, the biggest benefit, I feel like for everybody, the number one benefit for Lyft and Uber, let's be honest, is the flexible schedule. You turn on the app whenever you want. You turn it off whenever you want. It's fully flexible, which is why when a lot of people do it part-time, they can do it with another job. They do it, like, say, on the weekends, pretty much whenever they want, right? That's the biggest benefit. So that was the biggest thing a lot of the Uber and Lyft advertising has, saying, hey, you want to keep driving whenever you want? You can't. So make sure you kind of fight Prop 22 and everything. And that's where they spent $200 million to keep drivers and independent contractors. It is tough to say, though, because on one end, yes, being an independent contractor does allow that flexibility to be there. But on the other end, I also think, like, okay, pretend like after this, and again, we don't know what's going to happen. Pretend like they overturned it. And they say, you know what? No, we're actually going to go forward with this. All drivers are now employees. I feel like they could still work out the whole flexible schedule aspect. For example, there was one company, I won't say the name because I don't want to bash them, but they existed in Boston, and it was kind of like an on-demand delivery company, not just for food, but for pretty much anything. And I remember we were classified as employees. And I remember we got taxes taken out and everything, and we still had a flexible schedule. The only asterisk on that flexible schedule is we did have to let the company know in advance when we were working. So let's say on a Sunday, I'd say, all right, this week, Monday through Friday, I'm working 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. or something like that, right? So I did have to let them know, which is kind of annoying. You know, I mentioned this before, that Lyft and Uber is instantaneously flexible, and you don't have to let them know in advance when you're going to drive. Could it be that when you become employees, it turns into that where you now have to let them know in advance? I don't think so. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like there might be a way for them to kind of, in a sense, have their cake and eat it too, where yes, drivers will become employees, but still be able to keep that flexibility nature intact. It is tough to say. Obviously, we'll see what happens, you know, because even in this situation, Prop 22 was the only curveball when it came to AB5. Every other industry changed the game and changed what they were doing except ride-sharing. So ride-sharing is, and I think understandably so, in a very unique category when it comes to employees and independent contractors, but we'll have to see. At the end of the day, you know, this is definitely a big deal. And again, not just for California drivers, but everybody. Could it be that the whole independent contractor versus employee debate is finally settled? Only time will tell.